Alright, so Assalamualaikum and a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Farhan and Aziz, and today I will be presenting my slides or my presentation about the future aircraft design. Okay. So first and foremost, for my future aircraft design, there are multiple reasons for why I have chosen this topic, in which one of them is actually sustainability. Now, as we all know, in the current state of the world, the global warming of the world has been increased, and the temperature of general temperature as we know has increased exponentially, and research has shown that actually each decade the temperature has been increased by 1 degree Celsius. It might not be significant or sound significant at first, however, the effect of even 1 degree Celsius could have big impacts towards the flora and fauna, and even the Arctic Circle of North Pole and South Pole, and the melting of the ice inside the Arctic could affect the sea levels of the world, and the amount of environmental disasters could increase exponentially in the coming future. And from the motivation of sustainability, I have found that the development of greener aircraft design could assist in pollution reduction and sustainability in the aviation industry. And I will highlight that more in the challenges forward. Furthermore, my second motivation will be the economy in the aviation industry. Now, we all know the aviation industry is one of the largest industries in the world, in which not only in terms of getting passengers from one place to another, but also the cargoes and so on. For example, the aircraft designs that have been created in the past, for instance, the Boeing 747, which is known to be the queen of the skies, and the fact that this aircraft is not only majestic and very efficient aircraft, but also a very versatile aircraft. The main design for the aircraft is actually to be able to not only transport large numbers of passengers, but also be versatile enough to be transported into a cargo aircraft, in which large cargoes could be transported in this aircraft, as well as in the past actually transported a space shuttle for testing. And that in of itself has significant effects on the economy of the world. And not only that, the aircraft design of larger aircraft such as the Antonov 225, which is known to be the largest aircraft in the world, actually has the ability to transport large, not only large but also heavy cargo throughout the world. And that not only has a significant effect on the economy of the home country of the Antonov, which is Ukraine, but also has worked as national symbol of that country. Unfortunately, the Antonov 225 has been destroyed, but fortunately, the new development for the aircraft is in the works. And last but not least is the motivation about the security of the aircraft design. For instance, the Lockheed Martin F-35B or the F-22 Raptor has been developed as a 5th generation aircraft to assist the US and also its allies on the security of its borders in fight of its enemies and so on. And the improvement and betterment of the aircraft design that could assist these nations in defending their borders more efficiently and more safely, and secure its assets as well and its allies, enable them to enable safety inside its countries and so on. And designs such as aircraft such as the Su-57 from its counterpart or its enemy Su-57 has shown that the competitiveness of security in terms of aircraft design for security has been increased, and it shows that the importance of how aircraft design can be used to ensure security and safety inside a country's borders. Furthermore, I will highlight the aspects of aircraft design, in which aircraft design has been simple yet very complex. In the process, designing an aircraft goes through 3 phases, in which it goes through conceptual, preliminary, and also a detailed design. And designing the aircrafts have been similar since the 1930s, in which aircrafts, as we all know, commercial aircrafts that we use now have been very similar from the past, such as the Boeing 737, which is the first commercial aircraft, as well as the commercial aircraft, as we all know, that is very advanced. For instance, the Airbus A350 has been advanced its current aircraft design. And since then, the improvements and upgrades in terms of aircraft design have been very significant, and a change in the industry for the better. Now, the challenges for designing aircraft have been highlighted here, and one of which continue in the environmental concerns. I have highlighted in which one of the motivation was the sustainability of aircrafts. Now, the aviation industry, like I said, is very large and very wide in terms of the aspects, and in terms of how we use aircraft in our daily lives have been increased exponentially each year by year and each decade. And it has been estimated that the demand for business and leisure traveling could increase each year, and the demand could increase, and the industry is set to be a big source of carbon emission. 2% of the industry, aviation industry accounts for 2% of the world's emission. Now, in terms of making sure the environmental concerns are met, there have been regulations and summits that have been highlighting these type of concerns. However, it's up to the manufacturing and in terms of up to the governments to ensure that these regulations are enforced, and ensuring that this challenge could be could be reduced in order for the reduction in carbon emission and pollution in the future. Next challenge is the safety. Now, as we all know, aviation industry has been known about the safe and security of its passengers, because we are talking about the transport of passengers and their lives. And the aircraft design must be safe and must be utilized by the companies, because in the past there have been multiple incidents and accidents in which the aircraft design itself was the reason for the aircraft for the accident to happen. And for instance, in the result of a Boeing 737 MAX, the design of this Boeing 737 MAX actually was the reason for the casualty count of 300 deaths, and we do not want something like that to ever happen in the future. And highlighting the last challenge is the cost. Now, in terms of development of an aircraft design, there should be amount of time and amount of research must be put into to ensure that all of these other challenges should be met in terms of the safety and in terms of environmental concerns. To meet these challenges, the amount of time and research and money especially must be significant. Therefore, in terms of those costs, it must be accumulated into the price tags of these aircrafts. Thus, the price tags of the aircraft must be affordable and financially viable for the aviation industry or aviation market, so that in competitive industry, the prices could attract relevant airlines or countries to be able. So, for instance, if you're buying something from a supermarket, if it's too expensive, you wouldn't buy it. So, the costing of the research must be taken into consideration. Now I will go on to the current trends of aircraft designing right now that we have. For instance, one of which is the composite materials. When I talk about composite materials such as carbon fiber, which actually has been used in aircraft design to make it lighter and also actually stronger in some cases. And the usage of such a strong and light material could actually increase its durability of an aircraft, and actually, most importantly, the efficiency of an aircraft. A lighter and more stronger material could decrease the amount of weight of an aircraft, thus reducing the amount of fuel that it is emitting. This could contribute to the sustainability of the world. Second of all, the current trends of aerodynamics. Certain addition to the aerodynamics can be utilized in the aircraft design, such as winglets, which actually has been utilized by Ryanair, in which over 300 of its aircraft of Boeing 737-800, if I'm not mistaken, actually has been contracted by Ryanair towards Boeing, in which the development of a new winglet design that could actually increase its efficiency or aerodynamicness by 2%, and actually can reduce its fuel efficiency by at least 2% more. Thus, not only reducing the amount of fuel costs for Ryanair, but also thus again reducing the amount of fuel, reducing the amount of pollution or CO2 emissions emitted by the aircraft flying by Ryanair, in which they expected that over 165,000 tons of CO2 could be reduced by using this type of aerodynamic design. And last but not least is the current trends of cabin design. As we all know, in terms of cabin design of an aircraft, sometimes the comfortability of a passenger is taken into consideration, or sometimes the revenue point could be taken into consideration. For instance, cabin design created by Qatar Airways could be more comfortable to accommodate the middle class to the high class or the first class. However, in aircraft such as from companies such as AirAsia could accommodate for the revenue, which the legroom could be reduced or the amount of seats could be increased inside the aircraft to enable more revenue or more load factor to be implemented, which thus again could generate more revenue. Or even they could also improve the entertainment system for the passengers. So there, finally, I would recommend some points for the aircraft design, in which, for instance, the financial recommendation is the investment. Now, like I said, the amount of costing for aircraft design is significant in terms of research and its time. Thus, designing a new aircraft is expensive due to the tremendous amount of cost, the research and testing needed, which could require investments that could assist reducing costs. And there have been instances of such investments. For instance, from NASA actually invested in Airbus to enable one-wing design by Airbus, and has been invested by NASA. That's an example of government bodies to assist in investment. Furthermore, we talk about the commercial recommendation. Now, like I said, in terms of who will receive this type of aircraft, the new type of aircraft design, and is important. In which, for instance, the environment, as we know, like I said multiple times, the world is ever increasing in its temperature. Thus, some countries are devastated in terms of from global warming as such. And when highlighting this, when creating an aircraft that is very fuel efficient and very sustainable, selling to countries like these could enable them to reduce the carbon footprint in these countries, because they highlight the importance and because they are the most affected by this climate change in the long run. So selling or investing from these countries could be possible in the future. Last but not least, in terms of aircraft design, a lot of knowledge is needed by graduates. So it is actually recommended for graduates to have skills such as MATLAB, which is used to develop and analyze and certify complex aerospace systems, and such as CATIA, a standardized language used by aeronautical companies for product design, and as well, for instance, FAA regulations are important in order to ensure that these aircraft designs are meeting the regulations from bodies such as FAA or even the ICAO body, or International Civil Aviation Authority. Here's my references that I have used for this presentation, and last but not least, an opinion for the future aircraft. In terms of future aircraft design, there are numerous designs from the past and the future and the current in terms of improvements of aircraft design, or even how could we change how these aircrafts works. There have been numerous changes, such as, like I said, in terms of using smaller composite materials, or even using slightly different aerodynamic design, or even significant design changes such as the one wing design by Airbus. Now, in terms of the future of aircraft design, like I said, a numerous amount of investment is needed, a numerous amount of time is needed. However, in my belief that the future for aircraft design is very bright, due to the fact that the aviation industry is ever growing and ever needing new aircraft design and new aircraft design that are more sustainable and more efficient in the future. That's all from me.